Bonjour, I'm Pierre from French Moments, and in this video I will take you for a walk in the perched village of Saignon in Provence. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really supports the channel and helps us bring more amazing content to you. Also, if you haven't already, click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Let's begin our guided tour of Saignon from the Place des Amandiers located in the north of the village. We will ascend through the maze of old streets to the Rocher de Bellevue, where the ruins of the castle are situated. In front of us stands the church of Notre-Dame de Pitié. Let's take the Rue de l'Hôpital to discover the church's portal and facade. This parish church dates back to the 11th and 12th centuries and is built in the Romanesque style. It was located outside the medieval walls, as was the case for several villages in the Luberon. In the Middle Ages, the Church of Notre-Dame was a pilgrimage site for those traveling along the Via Domitia towards Santiago de Compostela. Let's push open the door and take a look inside the church. Here's the Place de la Mairie, and the pretty little house with blue shutters in front of us is Saignon's town hall. Now let's head towards the village's heart by taking the Rue Saint-Louis on the right. Here's one of the most charming spots in Saignon, the Place de la Fontaine. Unfortunately, during our first visit, one side of the square's facade was under restoration. But that's not a problem, because if you stay until the end of the video, I will show it to you without the construction work, with footage from my second visit 3 weeks later. For now, let's continue along the Rue Saint-Louis. We arrived at the Place de l'Horloge, a small square with a beautiful view of Saignon's belfry. The belfry is also known as the Tour de l'Horloge, or clock tower. Originally, it served as a watchtower to protect the fortified gate of the village. Over time, a clock replaced the bell, and a wrought iron campanile was added to the tower in 1584. Let's continue our exploration by taking the Rue du Quai. This long street borders the old village rampart upon which houses have been built. Here's one of the most beautiful wash houses I have seen in Provence. It has been restored and still features the wooden beam used for laundry. The wash house is supplied by an old fountain. Now we will discover a secret and picturesque corner of Saignon. Let's take the Rue du Portail Neuf. Here's the famous rock of Saignon, which we will climb shortly. Now we find ourselves on the Rue Cilly, which is just as picturesque. The Rue Courtine has the typical charm of a Provençal village with its old stone houses and lush vegetation. We are walking along the rock. In this area, it becomes clear that Saignon is quite a large village, full of steep cobbled streets, passages on the rocks, and alleys covered in greenery. We are back at the Place de l'Horloge. Following the Rue de l'Horloge, we gradually head towards the rock. In front of us is the Porte de l'Oro, also known as the Porte du Vent, the Wind Gate. Let's pass through the gate. On the left, we see the chapel of Saint-Michel de Tranzy, which dates back to 1032. Let's continue our exploration by walking along the Rue de Cassis. We start to glimpse a magnificent panorama over the Luberon Valley. And I promise you the view will be even more stunning from the top of the Rocher de Bellevue. In front of us stands the rocky spur of the Rocher de Bellevue, about 30 meters high. A staircase leads to the top of the rock. We're going to take it. You mustn't be afraid of heights to climb up here, and be careful of the steps, which can be slippery when it rains. The rock was used as an observatory and must have been used for signaling. This probably explains the origin of the village's name. From this use as a signal, signum, the name Saignon evolved and thus Saignon. However, others believe the village's name comes from a Latin man named Sanius, whose name seems to have been passed down to the early Middle Ages. In fact, a charter from the Church of Apt, dated 906, is signed by someone called Enseignone. Here we are at the top of the rock. Let's admire the view of the village. Let's go to the western edge of the rock. There is an orientation table that helps you identify major landmarks in the region, but it's easy to spot the town of Apt below. The panorama lets you see a good part of the Luberon region and some of its perched villages. With binoculars, you can see the rocky summit of Mont Ventoux, the Lure mountain and the Alps. Or if the weather is clear, you can glimpse Avignon, the city of the popes, in the distance. It's truly an incredible panorama. In the 12th century, Saignon was the most important castrum in the episcopal domain of Apt. The Rocher de Bellevue was a natural fortress that supported three fortresses: the Château du Rocher to the north, the Château Méjean in the middle, and the Château de Grigières to the south. This concentration of castles in such a small area is unique. This particularity is also reflected in Saignon's coat of arms, which features three golden castles on three rocks. Okay, let's head back down to the village. We'll more or less take the same path to return to our starting point. From the Apt Valley, you can see the intriguing fortified rock of Saignon. It's no surprise that it attracts curious visitors who are brave enough to climb to the top. The village, with around 1,000 inhabitants, is situated at an altitude of 500 meters. The commune is bordered to the north by the Calavon River and to the south by the Claparède Plateau and the foothills of the Luberon. The Gallo-Romans of Apta Julia, which is the modern town of Apt, made this site, dominated by its rock, one of their holiday resorts. They built numerous villas here, including the Villa Obaga, where altars dedicated to Bacchus, Mercury and Mithras have been discovered. In the 12th century, the fief of Saignon was part of the county of Forcalquier, and in the 13th century it was included in the county of Provence. In 1481, Saignon and the county of Provence passed to the King of France. From the 17th century onwards, the village's role as a lookout diminished and its defenses were abandoned. Part of the ramparts collapsed in 1747 and then again 20 years later. The fortifications disappeared for good in 1935 when one of the last sections of the wall collapsed, destroying 6 houses. Let's briefly detour via the Rue du Bourget to discover this beautiful portal with pilasters and a draped stone lintel. As I mentioned earlier, I came back to see this lovely square laid in the mouth, and shortly I'll show it to you without the construction work. Let's continue straight on the Rue de la Bourgade, which serves as the village's high street. The village has a grocery store, a tea room, bars and restaurants, and a hotel. Additionally, the proximity to the town of Apt allows access to supermarkets and more shops and services. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've been to Saignon and this part of Provence, I'd love to hear about your visit. Drop a comment below and tell us what you loved about it. Let's take a left onto the Route de Castellet, which leads us back to our starting point, the Place des Amandiers. Stay with me because in a few moments I'll show you the beautiful Place de la Fontaine without the construction work. Okay, so my daughter Amy and I returned 3 weeks later to see the Place de la Fontaine after the work was completed. It's one of the most charming spots in the region. We're going to take the time to soak up the atmosphere of the place. Each season reveals a unique charm in the square. In spring, the facades are adorned with greenery. This envelopes the place in a particular charm that captivates visitors. In summer, the shade of the hackberry tree provides coolness. The water from the fountain completes this typical Provençal ambience. In autumn, the vegetation changes. The red, yellow and brown hues decorate the square, adding an enchanting touch to the scenery. The square has been a meeting and exchange place since the Middle Ages. In its center is the most beautiful fountain in the village. It is fed by the Valsorg spring. The current fountain was designed in the 19th century by Elzéar Solier, a sculptor from Saignon. At the top of the fountain are two bronze women representing agriculture and industry. Under a double archway is the village's large wash house. I hope you enjoyed this walk through the streets of Saignon. In any case, it was a pleasure to introduce you to this lovely village in Provence. I'll see you soon for other adventures. À bientôt!